Hey, this is Michelle Prince with Performance Publishing Group. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and we're episode 301 with my really good friend, Michelle Prince. And if you have a story, which we all do, it really needs to be told, especially in this day and time that we're in. I mean, everyone's going through different experiences, through pandemic and, whatever is going on in this world. We all have a story, and Michelle will encourage you to tell it. And if you don't know how, then she has a solid, proven protocol to help you get your story out there to maybe even just yourself or even the masses. So this is one episode that you really want to relax, sit back, turn off everything else, and break out your notebooks, because the knowledge nuggets she drops is absolutely phenomenal. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, coach, and author, Michelle Prince. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have somebody that has about the same energy that I do, and this is just super, super fun. We're recording on a Thursday here in beautiful spring May day. And I got my good friend here, Michelle Prince, and she's a best-selling author, motivational speaker, publishing expert, and CEO and founder of Performance Publishing Group, a partner publishing company dedicated to making a difference one story at a time. She's helped thousands tell their stories and become published authors, and founded the Book Bound Workshop. She has also published many successful books, including her best-selling Winning in Life Now. Don't go look for it now, because I'm going to have a free giveaway at the end for a lucky listener that my good friend Michelle is going to John Hancock for you. And she's also the host of the Power of Authority Spotlight podcast, which that'll be in the show notes. But listen to the interview first here. And Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Ooh, red and yellow.
Red and yellow.
Yes.
Love it.
And I've always loved those colors. And they're bold and kind, I think, is what it boils down to.
I've never had anybody say red and yellow together, but I understand it with you. I get it. Because I think you can be a little bit fiery, but also mellow and chill. I love that. I love it. Let's get to the roots, Michelle. Let's hear your story and how you moved through kind of where you off mic. We kind of talked about you were that person who was kind of driving to work every day, not really sure, and you really level up. And now you're to a point where you level them up by the masses. So let's hear about it.
So my story started right out of college working for Zig Ziglar. It was a goal of mine. I know. It's a long, crazy story I won't get into, but I worked for him right out of there. And it was truly my passion, my job, my passion job, my dream job. But I quit about 3 to 4 years in, so that I wanted to go climb a corporate ladder. I went into software sales, and that next 13 years I was successful, got all the things I thought I wanted, more money, more, all of these things. And yet I was miserable. So my story started about 13 years into corporate America, really starting to ask myself, what am I doing? There's got to be more. And it led to me writing my first book, Winning in Life Now, which literally opened up the full-time business that I do of writing and speaking and training and all the things that we get to do.
So did you write the book while you're in the corporate landscape?
I did. I actually wrote the book for my kids. So I was at an event and I had this inspiration. I'd always wanted to write a book, but I was a little too timid to do it, because I would say to myself, well, you're no Zig Ziglar. I'd compare to the man I worked for. And I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to tell my story. I want my kids. They were 5 and 7 at the time. And I wanted my kids to have my story. So when I wrote that book, I had no intention for anyone other than my family to read it. Famous last words.
Wow. And that was about 12 years ago? That book dropped?
2009. Yeah. 2009 is when we published it. And that immediately opened up a business of speaking and coaching. And then in 2010, I was out speaking, and people would always ask me to help them with their books. And that's when we started the publishing company.
That is friggin' amazing, because you were speaking during a time of the Great Recession. I mean, wow. So you needed your voice. I needed your voice then. People that know my story, I was literally, I printed money in the early 2000s, and I was an idiot about it. I was a douchebag, but I lost all the identity that I didn't have. It didn't have the identity to hold on to it. So I had to be humbled. But speaking of that kind of identity, did you run into any, while you're writing this book? I know it's only for your children, but did you run into any like imposter syndrome while you were writing this? Like you're
Oh
like, hey,
my
I'm a
gosh.
corporate person, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And in fact, I knew I was supposed to write a book. I knew I was supposed to get back into personal development and motivation for 13 years, really. And I had such an imposter syndrome of, who do you think you are? Who cares about your story? And it gave me the courage because I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this anyway. But even after we launched the book, so I did an official launch, it hit bestseller in a couple of categories. Wow. And even then I was still like working my corporate job. I was still, trying to figure this whole thing out because I never intended to build a business. I just wrote a book. And that's why I love helping people with their stories, because I know the power of telling your story.
Wow. So let's talk about that. Do you work? I know that you put on fantastic webinars, seminars and stuff for writing a book and whatnot. But when somebody that is really wanting to become an author and get their voice heard like you did, what are you finding is their biggest blind spot?
Belief, first of all, that they even have a story or that anyone cares. One of the, I do a lot of exercises and workshops and through coaching where we're helping people to figure out what their story is. And at first everyone's like, I don't have a story. There's nothing exciting about me, but everyone has a story. Every story matters. And truly, if you think of your story, it's not self-serving. Your story is used to make an impact in someone else's life, personally or professionally. If you are one step ahead of someone else can turn around and share something you've learned, it's worth telling.
Wow. And there's so many knowledge nuggets in what you have learned. You just have to deliver it. And that's what you really help them do at the Prince, correct?
Yes. Okay. And even when I knew I was supposed to write a book, Scott, I wasn't clear on what it was about. And then one day it just hit me, wait a minute, I know what my story is. It's just me. It's just the things that I learned. It's things I learned from Zig Ziglar, working with him. It's my ups and downs in life of, reading my own personal development books to get me out of some time. So it became crystal clear that it wasn't this big thing. It was just your story is who you are.
Yes. That's awesome. I'm sorry, I take notes too. I forgot to tell you that off mic.
Oh, I love it. No, it's all good. I do too.
I love it. So when maybe you're working with someone one-on-one or even a group of people, and you're still kind of in a discovery period, kind of getting to know each other, and they want to get that book out there and whatnot. Is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
That's a great question. I would say I always share with people that in order to get to the heart of their story, is to make a list of their passions and their experiences, and then find the intersection between the two, meaning something you have on both lists. And that's a very, very powerful exercise because it has nothing to do with the book. It's just who you are and what, you bring to the world, basically. So maybe that question of, how simple is it? Because I think a lot of people make this out to be such a big mountain to climb, and it's not. Wow. You're sharing your story over coffee with a friend at church in the neighborhood all the time. Just now we need to just pull it together so that you can package it to help more people. That's
fantastic. I have to ask you, when you moved out of corporate world, which I know for 13 years, you had to have been doing pretty good, for yourself and whatnot. What did your family think? And did you get the full force of support as you wanted to kind of move into where you're at?
So when I was at this conference, it was funny. I was staying with my parents because the conference was near their house. And they, of course, were 100% supportive. When I went home, and my husband's okay me sharing this story, my husband's thought, wait, you're going to write it? Because I came home, I'm going to write a book. And he looked at me like I was crazy because it was nothing I had ever shared. Even though it was a goal, it was very personal, and I never put myself out there like that. And so, at first there was a lot of friends, family, like, what are you doing? And then, but I just knew that I knew I was supposed to do it. And now they're my biggest fans.
Love it.
So
I love it. They just see it, and they're doing it from a place of love most of the time, right? Totally. Where it's kind of like the crab in a bucket, kind of getting out. And they're like, no, you're safe. It's good. I love it. So if I'm at a networking event, Michelle, and I'm pressing flesh, meeting new people and whatnot, and I have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. I listen, and I'm trying to gear. Is there anything someone's going to say that will make them a good prospect or referral for you?
Yes, somebody that has a bigger passion to make an impact, meaning and I always say this, it's not about a book. A book is just a means to get to more people. It's somebody that wants to share their story. They've learned something, they've overcome something, and they have a passion for those people to share their knowledge. Those are the best people for us because it's ones that have a bigger mission behind it. They're not just trying to write a book to just sell 1 million books.
Love it. Love it. That's fantastic. That's easy to hear for or listen for. Beautiful. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, of course.
All right, let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the double deuce, Michelle, 22-year-old Michelle. I don't know if it's Princeton. Let's go back to 22-year-old Michelle. What kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on her to maybe help her shorten her learning curve, blast through, not so much change too much, but maybe you just, get level up just a little bit quicker?
When I was 22, I just started working for Zig. I was incredibly ambitious, incredibly competitive. And I was just ready to roll and climb and climb and climb. I would say continue that. There's nothing wrong with that, but also enjoy the moments, enjoy the people, the relationships. And, success is only important if you're doing it for the right reasons. And fortunately, I learned that lesson in my years in software sales, that it's not all about just success. And so that's what I would probably reiterate. Don't chase the dollar, chase what really lights you up.
Relationships.
Yeah, exactly. And
Love
passion.
And
also just, life's short, have a little fun and don't stress.
Exactly.
And, I'm so much less stressed out than I was back then.
So good. So good. So how do you want your dash remembered then? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and your death date. How does Michelle want her dash remembered?
I want to be remembered as somebody who lit the spark, for somebody to see what was already there, their story, that they are unique and special, and that God's given them that gift, but gifts are meant to be shared. And so that's what our story's intended to do. And so I want to be that person that encouraged and equipped somebody to do that.
Wow. You are such a go-giver. You are so planting the trees that you're probably never sit in the shade of. And I just love that. That's fantastic. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about you?
That I am anything different than them, meaning I have my good days and my bad days, right? I'm optimistic, I'm positive,
awesome. Yeah.
But I have my doubts. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner.
Sure.
I have my struggles, 12 years in business for myself. I've learned so many mistakes I've made. And so I think when people hear that, it's our story, right? This is what encourages others. Like, wow, if she went through that, maybe it's okay that I'm going through it too. But yeah, I'm just no different than anyone else.
That's awesome. Yeah, we are. People like, you're so up. I am off the clock too. I'm crazy, but I'm also an introvert, which people don't get that. Like, I'm the guy who'll go sit at my kava bar and sip on some kava and read a book alone. And I'm 100% part of that. But
me too. And I'm a very extroverted person though. So I love people, but I savor my quiet time alone.
Isn't it great to be neutral on that? It is. And it's a time you and you're like a sister from a different mister, man. I'm telling you right now, we were separated somewhere along the way. So what are 3 things outside of anything electronic or anything like that? What are 3 things that Michelle can't live without?
My journal. That's where I get I call them downloads. But that's where I connect with myself, with God, and I just get so much clarity through journaling. Can it be people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Community. You gotta have
my
community.
Family is everything to me.
Yes.
My husband will be married 25 years in October, and I have 2 incredible adult boys.
Okay.
Now,
they're adults. I'm thinking 2009 they were 13 and 7. You said, or 13 and 9?
5 and 7. So
5 and 7. Okay. They're adults. They're adults. Yeah.
19 and 22. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
fantastic.
And I know this isn't a faith-based show, but this is just truth to answer your question, is my Bible. That's important to me.
I'm a Christian, man. I'm in Proverbs there's 31 chapters in Proverbs. A lot of months have 31 days. Yes. And I read a chapter a day, and that's where I get my wisdom from on that. Every morning, the first thing I hit is Proverbs. So what is Michelle's definition of a life well lived?
That my children grow up to be, God-loving good men, that they, that something that we've taught them has passed on to the next generation. I want to be remembered as somebody who saw maybe the light in people that they couldn't see yet. That would be really important. And hopefully in my own family, you know what I mean?
Wow. It's amazing. What you're doing also is you're mentoring as you're doing this as well. I mean, you wrote a book for your kids, right? So it's like, my mentor always said, the more you mentor, the more immortal you become. So that's why I said you're planting trees. People aren't going to sit in the shade of it because what you're doing, I respect you immensely for that. That's fantastic. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We're back with my awesome sauce friend, Michelle Prince. Seriously, we were separated at birth somewhere along the way because our views and outlines are just so in line. And I cannot wait to rock a stage with her one day or collaborate. Yeah. Hint, hint, Michelle. Anyways, so we have a leveling up lightning round where you and I will probably one day talk 15, 20 minutes out on each one of these questions. Okay. You have 5 seconds with no explanations on any of them. You ready to level up?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. What is the best leveling up advice Michelle's ever received?
Don't overthink it. Just do it.
I love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Journaling.
Thank you for saying that. If you see me walking down the street and you're like, man, Fergie just looks like he's in his doldrums just a little bit. Outside of winning in life, now your book. What book, other than Winning in Life Now and also the good book, the Bible, what book might you hand me to help me level up a little bit?
Zig Ziglar's See You at the Top.
Fantastic. It's one of the first books I ever read when it came to that. There's Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and then there was Zig and a couple other people. That's fantastic. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
The laughing one.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
Kermit.
What? Really? I'm going to allow you to explain that one.
Okay, because it wasn't a bad one, but I was so skinny and my eyes were huge. And I moved to Texas, and this boy called me Kermit the Frog. But it became this thing in high school where everybody wanted to be a Muppet. So my best friend was Miss Piggy. I was Kermit. I mean, it became That's awesome. You. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. So, any New Year's resolutions?
I want to learn to paint.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
All right, very cool. What's your go-to ice cream flavor?
Rocky Road.
Right. There's a sandwich named the Prince Performance. What's on that sandwich?
I don't like sandwiches, but turkey and cheese.
Turkey and cheese. Very good. So you could get in a time machine just for one day and come back to today, but you can go in the time machine. You can go 30 years into the future or any time into the past. Where would you go?
Future.
Future? Very cool. Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Make-A-Wish.
All right. Thank you for saying that. Last question. You can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s.
There you go. Big hair, don't care. I love it. I graduated in 1990. I just turned 50. So it's like, I am like, it's like everything was 80s in the 80s.
Oh my gosh. I was 89. And it's funny, when I speak, I show a picture of myself with the big hair.
You have that, and you had the kind of oncoming invention of rap music, right? Mm-hmm. And you had the invasions from like U2, Duran Duran, Culture Club. You had all that stuff. And not to mention, the glam bands, the metal bands. And at the end of the 80s was the boy bands and, with New Kids. And it was just the best decade, period.
I loved it. I know. I still listen to it all the time.
Best movies, John Hughes movies. I mean, it was the best decade ever. Thank you for that. Awesome. So, all right, Michelle, how can we find you, love?
MichellePrince.com or performancepublishinggroup.com.
Okay.
Is probably the best way.
And talk to us a little bit about maybe this free digital copy of The Power of Authority.
Yeah, The Power of Authority is my latest book that I wrote. It's about really how do you leverage your story, especially if you're building a business or a ministry or anything. You need to have more credibility, more authority. It's a play on words. You can't spell authority without author. So how do you leverage your story to build your authority?
And do you have any more seminars or webinars that might be coming up that we can get people to subscribe to?
Well, a book-bound workshop is something that I do now that we're back live again. That's something positive. And something, though, I have to share, and it's something we have in common, is my next project that I've been working on for a couple of years. It's a book. It's a it's a seminar, it's a retreat, it's all kinds of things. It's a journal. It's called Shine Through Your Story, and Shine is an acronym. But I love when your podcast, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, we're so aligned. Got to illuminate, shine your light.
Love it. And go a little deeper on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So the way the book is really intended to show people that it's not about a book, but it's about your story. And that I do believe that your story is a gift, good or bad. And that, whatever you've been through, you are now capable of encouraging someone else to go through it. So it does have a faith-based spin to where Beautiful. It's more my backstory, but how we can't be afraid to shine our light, because it's not about us. We are just merely the reflection of the light, and we have to illuminate.
I love that. And Squad, make sure you do check the show notes I'm going to put everything that we really just talked about, including her podcast link in there as well. You have to give it a listen, or go to her YouTube channel and see her sizzle reel. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we're going to do a book giveaway on that book that she wrote for her children, Winning in Life Now. Anybody that puts in any of the social comments, whether it's Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you're at, we're just going to put Prince Performance. You put Prince Performance in there, then I'm going to have my good friend Michelle mail you out a book, which we will purchase, but she'll mail it out for us. But she will Hancock it for you to a personal little message, and it will be a gift that you will go to at all times. And Michelle, if you could, please leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Sure. No matter who you are, what you've been through, you have a story. Your story matters, and it's intended to be shared. So don't be afraid to do it.
Love it. And Squad, we just had really a free masterclass. Again, I've said it like 3 times now, but my sister from a different ministry, 13 years she was in the corporate world, and she knew that she had a story inside her that she wanted to get out. So she wrote it for her 2 boys, and it just went to bestseller. And now she's helping people really level up. She wants you to really search for your passion and know your calling. Believe in what you do. You have a story. You've learned so much through life. Get that story out. And someone like Michelle and her company can help you do that. Remember, your story is who you are. That she has a huge passion to make an impact on people. And if you're looking to make an impact on people through a story, please let us make a warm introduction to Michelle. She wants you to remember to be ambitious. It's okay to be ambitious. You might get stuck. So like my good friend Leah Woodford would say, get your asking gear, ask for that help, but also enjoy that moment and have a ton of fun. She will be remembered as somebody that kind of slid across home plate, bumped and bruised a little bit through the stuff that she's went through, but she's full of love, and she wants to help you light that spark and to others to see the good in you, your God-given talents, and share those talents. She's remembered as also a fantastic mother, an awesome wife, a God-loving person, which me and her line up really well with that. She's someone that does it for the intention and not the attention. She wrote a book for her kids, Squad, so they can get out there and really level up through life. But guess what? God had a different plan. He pushed it out to the masses, and that's what I love it. And just remember, again, I'm going to reiterate, you have a story. Get it shared. Get it out there. And that's exactly what my good friend Michelle does. You level up your health. You level up your wealth. You earned your varsity letter here at Time to Shine today. We love your guts, and we cannot wait to collaborate in the future, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Scott, so much.
You bet. Talk soon. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.